right. What are we gonna do today? Cool. So today is part three of the reel that we're editing for Instagram or TikTok on Premiere Pro. Now today's gonna be super quick because we're just gonna go over kind of just how I lay out a super simple color grade. You don't have to go into any color dynamics. It's just really basic one that you just want to get up and go, but still get a nice look on it. A quick effect, and also just putting some music underneath the track so that way you have a little bit of, shall we say, I mean, you could always, what I used to do is kind of just upload this, or like whenever I export it, put it on TikTok or Instagram, and then just kind of add the music. But then you have to kind of like quiet it a little bit, and it's always good to have some type of original sound, right? So here we are. This is our original little reel that we got going right there. Boom, 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 boom. She's just cleaning up everything in the fridge, washing all the stuff, washing the fruits real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Stacking it back up, putting the eggs in there, and voila, right? And that's pretty much it. So let's say that we want to add a quick effect to this. Actually, let's do the color grading first. Let's say, all right, the color grading, we want to add something to that, make it look a little bit, at least color corrected so that the whites are white no matter what type of light. So as you can tell, the fridge is giving a cooler light, and then you can tell from her arm right there that it's getting kind of like a warmer backlight onto her, right? So it's kind of a mix. So how can you tell what's what is the right shade of white, what is true white? So what I like to do, and this is kind of like a go-to whenever you want to kind of foolproof yourself and not really have any clip, what I like to do is put an adjustment layer first, right? So we're going to go into this, our project window. And in the bottom right, there's this, right next to the little folder, in between the folder and the little trash can, it's called new item. So you're going to click on that. You're going to get an option of sequence, project shortcut, offline file, adjustment layer, bars and tone, black video, color matte, transparent video, whatever. We're going to click on adjustment layer. And it's going to give you the settings of the timeline, time-based, 30 frames per second. Sure. Cool. And, you know, we could always label it. I always like to do that. We're going to rename it, and we're going to put it, let's put color correction. That way we know what it is. Awesome. So now we're going to put that, as you can see, we drop it, drag it onto the timeline. We're going to drop it right on track 2. Ideally, I'd probably like to drop these couple of tracks up so that way, in case I need to add anything or add some B-roll, I could just put it right there, right? So this is what I'm going to do right here. Let's see. Color correction. And then remember how we said yesterday that if we click on the clip, that's when the different settings will pop up, because you click outside of it, nothing there. Click on the clip, they're there. Well, the same thing happens when you click on the adjustment layer. So here's where we're going to do the magic. We're going to go to the Lumetri panel, which I put it right in the middle. As you can see, these little sliders right here in the middle. And we're going to go to the first basic correction. You'll see a bunch of different settings, which is like the creative, the curves, color wheels, HSL secondary, which is the hue, saturation, luminance, or the vignette. So we're going to go straight to the basic correction. Awesome. So if you want to do this super quick, save some time, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to somewhere in the video where you know this was definitely white no matter what, right? Like this was white even outside the video. So let's see if we can actually get something. All right, let's do this. Let's say, for the sake of right now saving time, on the right there's this little bottle of, here, let me, there's this little bottle of, what is this, barbecue, right? So we are gonna do I know that for a fact that that top of that bottle is white. So I'm going to double click that back. So I'm going to take the white balance dropper right here in the middle. And I'm going to click on that. Boom. It almost looks like you didn't do anything. But if you look right here in the middle panel, you'll see that the temperature moved slightly warm to 3.5, and then the tint went slightly green to negative 3.5, right? So I kind of turned that off to see how it looks like. It's very subtle. Boom. It almost looks like you didn't even do anything. And then you could adjust it however you like. We could even go to the creative. And if we, here's where you can add the LUT and different, if you're shooting RAW, you could turn it. Let's say we're shooting S-Log 3 to Reg 709 color space with a conversion LUT, all that, creative LUT. Do it here. And then intensity, you would adjust it right here. But for right now, what I'm going to do is move down to the vibrant saturation, and then I'm going to just cut the saturation a tad and then bring up the vibrance. So that what that does, and the difference between that is, instead of affecting all the colors globally like you would with the saturation, the vibrance, what it's going to do is actually just, if you turn it up, it's just going to affect the colors outside of the skin tones, which is absolutely fantastic, because skin tones is where it gets very, very tricky. Awesome. So let's actually look at the footage and see. There's a slight little difference. You can see right there. This is with it off. With it on, it's like a slightly warmer tone. Awesome. And just for the sake of doing this right here, this is what we're gonna do. And yes, she's pregnant right here. That's why she looks like that. A little bump right there. All right. We are going to affect a little bit of, we're just going to bump up the shadows just a tad. And it's going to go to the right. As you can see, it gets a little bit brighter right there. Boom. Not too much. You don't want to add anything crazy in there. The exposure, let's say we want to make it a little bit brighter. And then as you can see, if we do that, then it really overexposes the light coming from the fridge, right? So we don't want to do that. I mean, maybe, just tad like a 0.5. Why not, right? And we might want to bring the highlights down just a tad. We don't want that to be overshining. And now let's do this. We're going to toggle the track output. In other words, make it like we're not seeing it off right there. Boom. As you can see that, it just brightens it up a bit. Boom. You've brightened the image. Now let's see how it affects the rest of the video. Looks pretty good. And I don't know if you guys remember that older, see right here where she's washing the strawberries. Let's toggle that off. A little bit darker. You see? Boom. Off, on. Off, on. You can see what she's doing. Awesome. Now, let's add a quick music. Now, let's see. For the sake of adding some type of music, what I'm going to do is, I have motion array, so let's just go to quick royalty-free music. I'm just gonna let the rhythm hit. What is that? Let's put something electronic. Let's put electronic beat. Type in there, and yes, this is a third-party function, and you could actually download instead of going to the website and bring it into the project. They have a window that you could just do it on Premiere Pro, and then just download it straight to the program. Jumps right into the project from there. Boom. Anything that can take away from the workflow or adding to the workflow, making it better, I'm all for that, 100%. So let's, chill out electronic. Cool. Let's just do that. Oh, okay. It's already being downloaded. In other words, it's telling me to relax. Hurry up. All right. It's not working. One more time. All right. There we go. Should be downloading. Awesome, it's there. Motion Array. Free promo for Motion Array. Now, I'm going to see right there how long this is. This is, again, the preview window. It's 2 minutes and 13. I don't need it that much. Let's just cut it down right there to the end of the video, which is 1:30. So I'm going to make this track just a slightly bit bigger. As you can see, it just kind of jumps right into it. Let me see. All right, so bit slow, but it doesn't matter. But what I'm going to do is actually start it from the right. So I'm going to start right there, move it in, cut it. And a shortcut that I like to use, and this is it's Shift Command D on the soundtrack. And what it does, if you come right here, let me see where it is. Yes. So it's the shortcut for the constant power on the clips. Now, this is fantastic for putting it in the beginning of clips and in the end of clips. And if you're mixing two different clips together, sometimes they'll have different levels, especially you'll see that when it's some kind of interview or anything like that. You're going to see the different kind of clips go from one volume to the next. Maybe this one might be a little bit higher, this one might be a little bit lower, or vice versa. So what the constant power does is kind of blends them together. And you got to use it very subtly, and you could kind of like tailor it in, move it a little bit closer, a little bit further away, depending on how you're cutting your clips. And it actually makes it great to make everything sound uniform. So again, the beauty of a great edit, or the sign of a great edit, is to not notice there's anything edited about it at all, that it just pretty much came just like that, right? So we're going to bring it in just from the beginning, right? Now, I know that the first 3 seconds is where your attention goes. So what we're going to do right here, which goes and grabs for the eggs in the fridge, we're going to stop it right there, put the playhead, and we're going to set a keyframe right here on the scale. And we'll also do it for the opacity, right? And then we're going to go back to the beginning and do the same thing. Put a keyframe right there, and then put a keyframe right here in the effects control panel. And again, we're definitely going to do this. We could go in depth into these keyframes and animation. The whole thing is After Effects is ideal place to do it. But if you want to do simple, really quick ones, learning this, how to do this in the effect control is actually pretty unique. And you'll see that you could do a couple of different things yourself and kind of tailor it to your own, right? So boom, keyframes right there. And what we're going to do is go to the first one, which we're already at, and we're going to scale this to 0, put that on there. And then the next one is 50, right? And we're going to go back to the first one, and then we're going to see what that looks like. Right? It's kind of like, wait a minute, a little bit slow. It almost looks kind of corny. Right. So what we're going to do is actually bring that in a little bit faster. So we're just going to do three frames to the right. 1, 2, 3. Bring in that first one, or that second one, I should say, right there. And it's going to be boom. Now, what we want to do as well is add a little bit of, wait, hold on, that's the opacity right there. Time remapping speed. We don't want to do the speed or anything too crazy right there as of right now. We're going to do the click on the first one, and we could zoom in right there, right click, and do a ease out first, and then go to the second one and do an ease in. And we might want to do these a little bit faster. So I might even go right there where it goes in and bring it in right there. So let's see how that looks. It almost looks like nothing happened. So you do want to give it a little bit of again, super simple, easy, right? And we can always do something as well where we can actually use the opacity too. And as you see that marker that we did, let's go back to the first, I should say second frame on the scale, bring in that opacity one right there. Go back to the first one, and the opacity, we're going to go down to 0. So almost going to look like it's black. And then we want it to go like so. Right? And again, we could scratch this, and there's already one made. We're going to go to the essential motion. We're going to do a fast in. So we're going to do something like this. Right? So we could do that. Or we could just do a super zoom in. and, just have it kind of close in. But again, the whole point is that if the frame is super tight, you want to make a judgment call, right? So instead of zooming in, what we want to do is fast zoom out, right? Start in close, because again, the next clip's going to be super right in your face as well. So it'll be like so. Did it do it? Oh, I don't think it did it. There we go. Boom. All right. Very, very simple. All right, now we got the music there. We could also go to the track and then see how the sound is. And we'll see if we put that right there. It looks a little bit high. And we're gonna mix that down. So you're doing the job of a couple different team members right here on your own. Super simple. Awesome. Let me see. Let's go back to the Lumetri. So we did 3 things. We added a little effect in the beginning, kind of zooming out right there real quick. Added some music. We also did a slight color correction. You know what? Let me show you just another thing real fast right there. That shows everything. Let's go down to basic correction. We're going to go to the creative and creative color space. I'm sorry, not creative. We're going to go to the curves. And a beautiful thing about this one, and you'll hear a bunch of different, this is the last thing that we're going to do. You're going to see a lot of things of kind of like, oh yeah, if you want to color grade, bring it into Final Cut or bring it into a different program. But a beautiful thing that Premiere Pro came up with is this right here. So let's say her hand right there, right? When you're in the curves tab, you go all the way down past this is a tone curve, where you typically do the S. That's what it's most commonly known for. And then you'll see a bunch of different ones, and it'll say hue saturation curves, hue versus sat, hue versus hue, hue versus luma, luma versus sat, and the cross points. So the beautiful thing about it is, I know we talked about the skin tones, and again, this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. Look at her arm, right? So, it's a little bit, for the most part, fair skinned. She is a little bit tan right now because it's summertime. It's a little orange. And if it's a skin tone, you always want to make it come out, vibrant. So kind of like when girls put makeup on, they put a little red blush on their cheeks. You always want to skew it a little bit towards red. Not too much. You don't want them to look like a Oompa Loompa or anything like that. But what we're going to do is see what color that is. So no matter what monitor you're using, that we're going to tell that program that we want this color specifically be affected, right? So we're going to tell it what color that is. So we're going to click on the dropper and then click on the arm. Boom, right? It gave me 3 little dots, right? So it gave me one of the red, orange, and I should say this is like a red, almost magenta, red, orange, and then like a yellow, orange, right? So we're going to click the one right in the middle. And just to show you what it does, I'm going to bring it down, right? So basically that line is kind of like an XY axis. So the line is what color it is, right? Basically the hue. And then once you go up and down, that's the saturation of that specific hue, that specific color, right? So her skin tone, we're going to bring the one right in the middle because the other ones are going to stay put, right? We don't want to bring everything down. We just want that color. So we'll pick the one right in the middle. I want you to look at her hand. I'm going to just completely bring it down. In other words, desaturate it, and it almost looks pale. Kind of looks cool because the strawberries are actually still red. Dynamite, right? But we don't want that color, right? We want it to be a little bit fuller, right? A little bit vibrant. You want to saturate it just a touch. Right? And again, we're going to go a little bit towards the left, going towards that red, right? So I'm going to toggle it off right there. If you look at her skin, looks okay, not too bad. And I'm going to toggle it on. So your skin looks a little bit darker, a little bit more saturated, slight reds in there make it kind of bring it to life. So even if you have a hangover or something like that and you're filming a video, and then, or sometimes I'll do some like lawyer videos that we give them an interview to do in the morning, but the last night they probably got plastered or something and they just look very hungover. Well, what I'll do is I'll just liven them up just a little bit. And again, I'm not a magician, but I'll give it a little bit something. So I gave it that. And another way to check that, let's go and look at her facial skin. Boom, right there. Wait, where is it? Let's go a little bit slower. I'm going super fast. Boom, right there. So let's toggle that off right there. So that's all that we've done right there, right? If we take everything from the adjustment layer that we used for the color, adding the exposure, taking a little bit of the shadows, and also the skin, you'll see if I toggle it off, which it is right now, it's very, it's a little bit dark. It's the skin's a little pale. Shadows are a little bit, it's very kind of contrasty. And then I'm going to take it off. It's a little bit brighter. Skin's a little bit more on the orange side, and it looks a little bit brought to life. And again, play around with this. Don't be scared to go from one extreme to the next. Make mistakes, because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, especially if you're editing this on your own, like you call the shots. It's a one-man sport. It's good to get other perspectives and different things like that, but you'll never know your own style unless you go to the extremes, right? That's where you want to live, right on the edge. And that's how making mistakes is how you know what you're doing good and what you're doing bad, or how you like it, right? It's all perspective. Awesome. So I'm actually going to end it right there, make it super quick. It's 8 p.m. Central. So I'm going to go ahead and end it right there. But again, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, let me know right in the comments. And tomorrow is Thursday, July 3rd. So tomorrow we're going to be doing, when I go live, we're going to be reviewing a couple of different editors and what they do and in their videos, and kind of calling it out in the sense of not calling them out, but just calling out like the different scenes that I really enjoy, different camera angles, the lighting, all that good stuff. We're going to break it down. Might have a special guest, but we'll know by tomorrow.